Welcome back to Case Files from the Ropen Network. I'm your host, Jacob S. Guerra. Tonight we begin with a breaking report out of California. A late-night encounter with what one witness describes as a large white living pterosaur. The sighting was brief but unmistakable. And if it holds up, it could be one of the most significant modern accounts we've ever studied. So let's open up the file on this one and seek the truth together. This is Mac McCrory and Garth Guessman, only on the Ropen Network. Garth, it's a privilege to have you again today. I want you to introduce yourself to the listeners.
Yeah.
Give us a brief understanding about what you do again, okay?
Well, you kind of did it for me. My name is Garth Guessman. I have become pretty close friends with Jake over the years, and we have, well, obviously, because we think so much alike. I got started in cryptozoology because I was a Christian, and I was going to creation meetings, and we were talking about the different evidences for God being the creator, for God making things the way the Bible says he made them, and the time frame that he made them. And one of the things that came up was, well, if that's true, then if God made all the animals in 6 days, then they all got on the ark during Noah's flood, they all should be getting off the ark. And if dinosaurs and pterosaurs and plesiosaurs as well, if these dragon-like reptiles can be in scripture, why can't they still be here today? Did they all get killed off? Did they die from something? And then one of our speakers came at the creation meeting, and Dr. Thomas Kendall, and was talking about research in Congo, Africa, and various places in Africa looking for sauropod dinosaurs. Other places like Australia that describe an upright walking dinosaur like a T-Rex. And then in Papua New Guinea, they described a flying pterosaur, a flying reptile, like what you see with dinosaurs in depictions. And I was just stunned. And this has fired me up. And so I just kind of really got into it. And as I'm leading the creation meetings over the years, I would try to incorporate cryptozoological evidences for creatures that evolutionists believe have never existed with people. And the evidence is that maybe they have existed with people, and maybe even they're still here today. So that's kind of my background. Yeah.
All right. Mac, thank you so much for joining us on the Ropen Network. It is a pleasure to have you here. Anytime we have new testimony involving what could be living pterosaurians, we need to embark on that. And just for the record, I use the word Ropen because that is associated with our network. However, Ropen does mean living pterosaur or living pterodactyl. Now, pterodactyl is loosely used. It's not politically correct, but it conveys what the creatures are, Mac. Okay? So when I say Ropen, I refer to living pterosaur. Thank you so much for being here. I want to hear about your encounter. The floor is yours. Please, sir. Go ahead and tell us your story.
Yeah, no problem. I was actually walking down on the riverbank, out past my parents' place. It's a little river park that there's over there. And I think it was around, I told you more specific times last time we had spoken, but I believe it's like 8:30, 8:40 at night. Okay. So dark enough. But it was a partly cloudy night. And I'm on the phone, and I have hearing aids, so I don't have to have the phone up against my head. And I'm sitting there just watching the night sky, and I could literally see what I thought at the time was maybe like a paraglider, or it was a flying silent. And at the time I was thinking more aircraft related, but the wings were wrong. The fuselage was wrong. The tail was wrong. I just shot my pilot's license and pretty well educated person. And to me, it just didn't match. My brain was trying to process this as a flying aircraft, and I couldn't. And so I'm sitting here describing this to a friend of mine, and I don't know if she's been on the show or not. I know I don't know if Laura's been on the show or not, but but I'm sitting here trying to explain this to her about what I'm seeing. And so I start looking it up because I'm thinking maybe experimental aircraft, something like that. And I'm like, but the math doesn't add up, right? The wings aren't the right shape. It's got too long of a forward fuselage, too long of a rear fuselage, right, for a plane. But I started pulling up pterosaurs. And the more I dug into that, the appearance of what I saw made more sense more and more the more I dug into the actual exact pterosaur that I had seen. Because it was of a whitish gray. It was flying at cloud level. I'm going to say probably around about 1,000 foot. And the way that the structure itself moved and also the trajectory it was flying on, again, was perfectly fit the description of what I was able to find into the pterosaur world. Everything matched. The neck length, the tail length, the wing design, everything fit that exact description. Even the color patterns were the whitish gray color patterns on that type of pterosaur. And it was just like, holy crap. Never in my life I was something I would think of when I'm thinking. I'm like I said, my brain's trying to process this as a mechanical, not zoological.
Okay. So Mac, you said this was at night around 8?
Yeah, about 8:30 at night. Moonlit,
So it was
partially
dark.
cloudy.
Is there any sunlight left, or was it pretty much
No,
dark?
all moon. It would have been off the moon.
Okay. What month was it?
That would have been. I'd have to look at my phone to be honest with you. It was back. I think it was October
Okay.
12th. I think it was, on 14th, something like that. I'd have to look at my phone to see the exact date.
And that's this year, or?
This year. Yep.
Oh my God.
Would you say that's the gist of your encounter?
Yes. Yeah, and I watched it because when I went to, there's an embankment going down the river, right? So I watched this fly over me, and again, trying to figure out what the hell this was. So I had to walk around a big oak tree. By the time I came around the oak tree and was able to look back up, it was out of sight into the cloud bank.
Okay. You said 1,000.
So we're talking maybe 30, 45 seconds of me watching this fly from the treetop horizon slowly across over the top of me. And then, like I said, I kind of lost it in the trees. When I came around the tree to kind of get a better visual of it, it went off into the cloud bank.
Okay.
To more curve back towards the back of the body.
Think about very critically is on the ratio of the wing from the attachment point in the body to the tip of the wing. Where in that wing did you see some kind of angle beyond just the smooth curve? Where was the angle? Was it at the
probably a third to 2/3, probably a third of the body, third of the way out from the body.
Okay. And was it
maybe a little bit more than that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to process it again. It's a couple months ago. So, I would say somewhere a third, maybe a little over a third of the body out off the torso.
Right.
Oh, it would be what I would deem as like from the shoulder out.
Yeah.
So probably about a third. Yeah, I'd say third. Yeah, 1/3, 2/3 body.
Is there any chance it could have been like 2/3 of the way out, closer to the wingtip?
It could have been more. I would say more, not quite 2/3, but more half towards it. Again, I'm trying to wrap my head around. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was from 2 months ago. So
but your gut feeling is it was closer to a third of the way out.
Closer to a third. Yeah, closer towards the core, towards the torso than it was farther out.
I know you were asking some questions. Let me jump in here, Mac. You said it was 1,000 feet up, right?
Yeah, I would say roughly 1,000 feet up, based off the cloud layer.
You can make a good positive identification from 1,000 feet?
Yeah, because I used to do aviation, work in the aviation industry.
Okay.
I know that's why, again, this is where I originally started dragging my brain through, was because I'm working on a mechanical or environmental engineering degree, right? So engineering background, engineering brain. My brain is telling me, okay, this is a flying aircraft, right?
Yeah.
But the math didn't add up to the wing structure, fuselage structure for a flying aircraft. Okay. And that's what started me down looking into, well, okay, what else could this be?
Yes.
Right.
So let me come back here for a second. Let me come back. Yes. So we have someone who understands mathematically the distance. Now, how long have you been in that profession?
So I originally was a combat controller with the military back 18 years ago.
Okay.
I've also just shy of my pilot's license. So I've been flying off and on since I was a teenager.
Wonderful. Okay.
So when I say aviation industry, I've flown on every type of military aircraft. I've flown on a plethora of civilian aircraft, either flown in or physically flown.
Okay.
Plethora of civilian aircraft too. So I'm very familiar with the aviation industry.
You know your aircrafts, that's for sure. You can clearly tell.
Yeah, because originally I thought it was a glider. So my brain was processing this because it was silent. So my original thought process was this is a glider, but the proportions aren't in any known glider configuration that is used, because it was silent. There was no motor. I've got hearing aids of really good hearing. So, and I would have heard any type of prop at 1,000 feet. I would have heard if it was a prop or a flying aircraft, I would have heard it.
Yeah, and I would just to reiterate for the audience too, Mac, is that 1,000 feet is not that high. It really isn't.
No.
And you can make a positive identification. A lot of skeptics will say, "Hey, we don't believe human beings can make positive identifications with something that flies from a certain altitude." I disagree. Especially those tests that are being conducted are stationary. If you have something that's just floating there, that's not substantial evidence to provide to us that people don't know their distances. Sounds like you. Well,
and I even went through and looked at the cloud cover that day. I went through and looked at the cloud, what the cloud layer was, and that's how I know the distance, because I was showing you it was right below, or right into the cloud layer, and then when I lost track of it, it was flying up into the cloud layer, or flying away up into the cloud layer. So I actually went and looked up went up and looked at what the cloud layer was for that day, so I can actually tell you exactly what it was. Like I can give you, the cloud layer was between 800 and 1,000 foot that night.
So based on that distance, at 1,000 feet away, what's your gut feeling that what's your estimate on the wing length from tip to tip?
Oh, big. I would probably put this 24, 30 feet tip to wing tip at least.
Okay.
Based off the ground distance level.
Like a plane.
Like a size of a Cessna.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the easiest way to explain it. And when you look at it, yeah, they're about the size of a Cessna.
Mm-hmm.
That's big.
So big.
Let me come back to the color then.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one caught my attention when I first talked to him, Garth. He said it was white in color, whitish gray, or just white?
Yep. Whitish gray. Again, we're talking 8:30 at night, so the reflection I'm getting moonlit night, partially cloudy, so I'm getting a reflection off the moonlight off of it. Mm-hmm. So to me it had a whitish, grayish. Again, we're talking 8:30 at night, so it could have been bright white for all I know, but it had a whitish gray coloring.
Okay. Does that strike you as odd, Garth, or would you say that's something that could fit into this category? I mean, we haven't really had many testimonies with something that's white. What's your thoughts?
No, I think it's feasible. It's unusual, but it's feasible. Let me ask you, what color were the clouds that day? That's a dumb question. Were they dark? Were they bright?
Joe, we had almost a full moon that night. So you had that light gray reflection off of the clouds.
Okay. So the clouds are kind of bright.
Yeah. Yes. That's why I could see it. To me, it was silhouetted off the clouds that I could see it.
It was silhouetted off the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
So it was brighter than the clouds.
Yes.
Okay. And the rest of the night sky was just dark.
Dark sky, and it was moonlit, so it's like starry in portions, partially clouded sky.
Partially cloudy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that is unusual, Jake.
It is.
It's not blended into the darker sky, and it's brighter than the brighter clouds that were in the night sky that night. So yeah, definitely unusual. Not beyond what these things can do.
Right.
I've just never seen it before.
Same here.
So Garth, what we were talking about was, so if you look at what I believe I saw was the Dimorphodon.
Yeah,
Dimorphodon.
Okay.
Yep. Those have a little bit darker colored head, but those had a white body to them.
Okay.
No, that's just usually depicted in the artistry.
Okay.
On the whatever illustrator's doing it. They really didn't color that they know of.
And we can try to compare something a little bit here and a little bit later, but let's try to dissect this just a little bit more further. I agree with Garth. It's sometimes those drawings, Garth, online, I mean, they're very vague. I mean, this is what they, you're trying to put muscle and everything on these things to make them look a certain way. Real quick, though, when we deal with Dimorphodonte, the species of that creature, there's not many variants of them, but it's definitely bigger than Pteranodonte, because I think there's only 4 members in that family. So And we're not dealing with something that's extremely large with a 20 to 30 foot wingspan
Gotcha.
at all. But again,
Okay.
Garth, this is where we're like, hey, we haven't found all the fossils there is out there. 150 to 286 species, Mac, is what has been potentially documented. 150 saying, hey, we found 150 complete skeletons of these. Even then, we're still missing pieces to it.
Yeah.
Let me ask this question. Did the wings appear broad like an eagle's in a narrow like hawk fashion, or did they have that long triangular sweep typically associated with pterosaur species?
So what the easiest way to explain it is sparrow shaped.
Okay.
So where they curve back. So it starts off like a shoulder and then they curve back. We were talking previously I believe there was a little bit of a lip in it at about a third down the wing, and then it curved back.
Okay.
Okay, so here is a rhamphorhynchoid pterosaur with the tail.
Yep.
And
Yes.
you're saying it had similar curved
Yes.
wings like this.
Again, sparrow shape, that curved back, very similar to what you're showing there, wing shape wise.
All right.
Torso, not, but the wing style, yes.
The torso is what, heavier?
Heavier, a lot broader across the torso.
Mm-hmm. So the body itself had a pretty thick diameter. What do you think that diameter was? What would you estimate?
I would probably about a third of the overall structure of the animal. No, sorry, not a third, a quarter of the overall structure of the animal.
Quarter.
So about a quarter of the body versus the wing style.
So let's think
Real
about
broad shaped.
if it's 24-foot wings, you're talking a 6-foot wide body.
Maybe 4 to 5, I would say, closer to ratio.
Even 4 feet is really, really.
is.
Real broad. This is real broad chested.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of narrowed a little bit more when it left like what I would deem as a shoulder. It would kind of narrow it into like the neck structure, and then same thing, just past the back of the wing, it started narrowing towards like a tail structure.
Tapered down. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Almost like if you see, I don't know. Again, I don't know the I'm saying pterosaur style or different types, but you see the ones where they tuck their legs together.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what that tail reminded me a lot of. Is where it was a tuck, kind of it came down where would they be past the wings, kind of more like a hip, and then narrowed down to like a tucked feet.
Okay.
So we have actually,
Yes,
okay.
as long as the neck.
Really?
So it's a pretty equivalent forward to back. Tail mid. The wings were mid-bodied.
Okay. What was on the tail?
I couldn't tell you at that distance that I was looking at it. All I could see was, again, it kind of get almost like a hip structure, and then it narrowed down into kind of a flat tail like that,
Okay.
What's
like a V-shaped tail.
what's the percentage the ratio of the body and then the tail?
About, I would say third, and third. The wing, so between what I would deem is like shoulder to hip,
Yeah.
tail, back, and then shoulder up was probably about a third, and a third.
So the neck stuck out a third from the wings.
Yep.
Then you had the
Because that's what threw me off the most is why, because again, my brain is thinking aviation industry. The forward fuselage is way too long to be anything in known flying.
Gotcha. And the wings to the rump, let's say,
Yeah.
is a third. And
Probably
then,
about a third.
and then a tail is the other third.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. At 24 feet, we're talking 8-foot segments roughly.
Yeah. The shoulder to hip portion, maybe a little smaller, probably closer to, I would say, probably 5 foot. And so not quite a third, and a third. So, but it was the top of the wing to the bottom of the wing structure was shorter, longer neck, and a little longer on the tail side.
This is big.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of the big whopper that Jane saw in the clearing, where she saw the light of the creature.
Yeah.
As a white light far away, kind of like a white baseball. And then she saw it a little closer. It flashed as a orange softball. And then it just manifested completely. You could see its body without wings, which was weird. But the wings were still blended in. And the body goes up and over tree lines, kind of like coming at her and then turning and then coming over the tree lines.
Wow.
Tree lines are like 100 feet high. You know.
You know, Garth, this is also reminiscent of Catherine's from Point Defiance, but she mentioned a 30-foot wingspan on one of these guys, all whopper, you could say,
Right.
but no tail. This one had a tail.
So the tail, did you say it could have been two legs held together?
Yes, yeah, because of the way the contours was up on the tail itself. So again, what I would deem as like a hip from the hip down, kind of tucked together. So it went from a pretty thick trunk at what I would deem like a hip kind of end window, and then it started narrowing what would be like a knee, and then narrowed even more after that.
Right. Gotcha. So it could have been a tail, but you're not ruling out the possibility of long legs.
Yeah, could have. That's what I'm saying. To me, it'd be more of a long leg structure than a full tail structure.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that changes things a bit. As far as the members of Dimorphodonte, there's actually only 5. So it's just as many as Pteranodonte. Much larger.
So I bring up that one because just from Google searching or internet searching, right? That is the closest one I could find to the trunk torso style with the head, the short beak. So it didn't have a long snout, it had a short beak, right?
Okay.
At least from the angle that I was looking at, it looked like it had more of a curved nose than a long nose structure.
Okay.
And that is the only one I could find that I could really tie the swallow type wings, the thick torso, thick neck, head structure, and the tail, what a deem or tail or leg structure.
Probably be about 6 hours away from Mount Shasta, Mac?
No. We're talking within 45 minutes of Mount Shasta. South of Mount Shasta. Yeah.
That was going to be one of my questions too. 45 minutes from Mount Shasta, Garth.
Yep.
That's pretty amazing. Something tells me maybe this guy is coming from there, but hey, look, if you're a large creature, you're probably migrating. Passing through, maybe. He may have nesting grounds. We don't know for sure, but we know for a fact that California is a hotspot for pterosaur activity. Garth would know this. He lives in California. They could be coming down from the Sierra Nevada mountain range. So, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Garth, as always, I love having your insights. You know as well as I know that these things have found a way to survive. Just what the numbers are, that's the difficult part. These are reptiles, so they're very elusive. And everybody always asks me that question, Mac. They always say, how many of these things are out there? And the skeptics are saying, well, there has to be large numbers for them to survive. Well, how do we know the numbers aren't great? And the fact that we have people who are actually coming forward and saying, I've seen it. You need to hear what I have to say. That's why we did this. Right, Garth?
That's it.
Yeah. And this just is another piece to the puzzle. But this one is so intriguing because we have a potential white pterosaur. The question is, what kind? What genus of species is it? We're going to have to find out. So we will look into this, Mac. And I appreciate your time. Thank you for your service to your country. Always very important. Like I told Laura when she was on the network, always appreciate everyone who has served and guarded the gates of freedom. Thank you so much for joining us on the Ropen Network.
Have a good day.
You too, sir. Garth, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for being the co-host today. I appreciate you, my friend.
See you soon.
All right. We will chat real soon, and I'll shed some light on this subject if I can. Okay?
All right.
Okay. Bye-bye. Well, a very intriguing case, wouldn't you say? The question is, what kind of species is this? We tried to pinpoint a few things, whether it was Dimorphodonte, Pteranodonte. What kind of creature is it? We know that it does fly, but what kind of Dimorphodon have a 20-foot wingspan? The species has not been found yet with a 20-foot wingspan. That's not to say there isn't something out there that could still exist. When we spoke to Mac, he pinpointed a few wing structures. It is interesting that the wings curved backwards. Now this is significant because most pterosaurs' wings do this, especially the smaller types. Regardless, it is an interesting encounter and coming from a combat pilot who understands planes. Clearly this was not a plane. Clearly he understood something was wrong, an organic flying creature that shouldn't have been seen in the night sky. It's important to note that pterosaurs are fragile. There's 150 to 286 species that have been documented, but 150 that have been on record, and most tend to be skeletal remains, but some are just partial. There's still a lot we do not know about these amazing flyers. If you enjoyed our content, be sure to check us out on Spotify for the non-condensed radio shows. Follow us on Facebook and Rumble, and of course, YouTube. But until next time, seek the truth.
The RRN Ropen Radio Network is brought to you by 511 Tactical. Always be ready.
Last year, our network brought you the testimony of eyewitness Mike Sowers, who reported seeing 5 unusual Ropen-like creatures near Niagara Falls College. In 2025, Sowers captured these images, offering a closer look at the power structures to which the creatures perched. A first-hand perspective on one of the most talked about encounters in recent memory. For every encounter, there is a mystery. And for every mystery, there is someone somewhere who has a missing clue. Perhaps that someone is watching. Perhaps that someone is you.